Over the last year, people in the UK have spent billions of pounds renovating their homes. Santander reported the submission of over 60,000 planning applications during the first period of lockdown. Gardens have been the most popular area to renovate, followed by living room, bedroom, and kitchen projects. Joe and I are represented in these statistics. We now have a new mustard, although Joe says it's actually mango, accent wall in our lounge. Staying at home has changed how we see the places we live, mainly because we're spending a whole lot more time in them. When asked why renovators chose to invest in their living spaces, almost 2/3 said it was to make their home feel comfortable. Folk have reimagined what and where leisure space looks like. Of course, staying at home has changed more than people's decor. Scientists reckon stay-at-home orders, when implemented, dramatically decrease the spread of COVID. Avoiding going out saves lives. It has protected entire countries' populations, and unfortunately, not staying home has had deleterious effects. In today's Gospel, Jesus talks about staying home, using the image of a vine as our connection to God, our root. And in the time to come when Jesus' disciples will venture out into the world on their own, they will need to stay attached to it. He tells his disciples to abide, to make their home with God, to be home-loving people. This past week, the Provost and I were talking about the easing of restrictions over recent days. With things opening back up, pubs, restaurants, and shops in the city were abuzz with activity, preparing for a new influx of custom. You know, though, said Kelvin, I find myself feeling a little nostalgic. Shocked, I was like, nostalgic about what? Lockdown? And to my surprise, Kelvin talked about the past year giving him a new appreciation for the simple life. I must admit, I'm probably not much one for the simple life by nature. It's not that I enjoy things complicated, but sitting at home is not my idea of a good time. I like exploring, going out. I don't particularly appreciate staring at the same four walls for too long, and I reckon that for many other people with itchy feet, they, like me, are eager to put the homebody life behind them. But I wonder, in light of today's gospel and in respect of our recent pandemic experiences, if we're about to run out the door too quickly. Is the provost right? Is there wisdom we can find in our housebound experiences? One of the things that struck me about the survey data coming out in recent reports is that even as orders enforcing lockdown ease, people say they plan to spend more time at home. Our home renovation projects, both large and small, have highlighted the importance of where we live. Perhaps there's something to this. For a lot of people, this past year has felt like an unholy wasteland. They've not felt connected to a church or a community of faith, and hence they've felt disconnected from God. Online worship doesn't do it for them, and the new mediated forms of in-person worship feel cold and sterile. Staying at home spiritually has been off-putting. They've been trapped inside a room that doesn't feel anything like shelter or refuge. On one hand, we could wait until the return to normal and find ourselves back in the adventuresome world of the things that used to give us spiritual nourishment. But we could see that even then. We sense a bit of unrootedness, detachment from it all. That wouldn't be surprising. This pandemic has uncovered our interior lives and forced us to live in secluded places. And it's from those places, the life of personal prayer and devotion, everything else emanates. What happens in private, behind closed doors, is the root. Our walks with God, our meditations, our private prayers are deep and integral to spiritual life. And maybe in periods of busyness that isn't so apparent. But during these extended stay-at-home measures, this has all come to the fore. It seems we've got work to do in our homes, the places where we live, both physical and spiritual. Of course, these places may need more than a lick of paint or a new houseplant, but that will be for us to discover. Nonetheless, we've seen during this pandemic that our interior dwellings need upkeep and renewal. We must care for where we live. So before we go rushing headlong back into church, perhaps we should take a look at where we are now and give our spiritual homes the attention they deserve.